Mondays of jazz concerts at Dana School were electric. It started at about 9 o'clock in the morning, Paula, and it didn't end until the kids were bringing the gear back after the concert. I mean, it was 14 hours of electricity. And, it made the school, it gave the school an identity that was very, very profound in our profession. Everybody knew Tony Leonardi, Paula. Everybody. Okay.
The concerts themselves were always so amazing. When I was there, we did a lot of the concerts at Kilcawley Center, and it was just such an amazing, they were so amazing. The place would be packed.
We always got like the second most amount of money from student organizations on campus because of all the people that we brought in to the concerts. So you're talking, I don't know how many people were there. It was always 500-600 people. Sometimes they're standing by the vending machines. They can't even see the band. They're in the back in the study area in the back of Kilcawley. Again, people can't see, but they can hear, and they're there.
We rehearsed from, early in '69, and we gave a concert in the spring of that year. That's when we blew the roof off of everything.
And I always went to the concerts. I never missed them. And they were packed houses. It was like a rock show, and I had to have a seat saved for me.
I remember one time playing, and then I had a little bit of a solo, and you can't see anybody in the audience when you're on the stage, but just hearing the roar of the crowd and going, whoa, like I'm a part of something really big here.
What Tony did for Youngstown, he created this bubble of jazz interest and energy, and it was infectious. And you could see it in Kilcawley Center when there wasn't a seat in the house, when it was completely full and there was standing room in the back, and it was just a regular night, a regular concert. It wasn't a featured concert.
I would go to those concerts. They were professional, Paula, in every respect. The level of playing, the ensemble, the solo playing, just the production, the energy, the standing room only. That's amazing. It's truly amazing. And that was all Tony.
Your dad was a character. You know that, right?
Yes.
You can't talk about your dad in the stories. It's impossible. We all do it, every one of us, and not go into his voice.
You play with the intensity of a wet noodle.
Then what the hell?
Dude, get on top of the beat, and just be all over me wherever I was at all times. It seemed like he'd pop out of doors and,
What's the matter, Wilpula? Have you got that far in the Riverbank book yet?
You can't play right rhythms and you can't play in tune. There's not much else left.
Do I need a neon sign to tell you when to come in?
What the hell? We got guys in the Middle East flying $500 million planes, and you can't play a $200 trombone?
When you get to the bridge, jump off!
What the hell are you doing?
So during one of the set breaks, we started playing bocce ball because they had that big bocce ball court down there. And so we're playing bocce ball, and then the band starts playing again, and we're still playing, and your dad was there. They keeps on doing this while we're playing bocce ball. The band's playing. He keeps on turning around, and then
the next day in school, in jazz improv class, your dad walks in, and everything seems fine.
He's just quiet, not saying anything. He's like, "Rocco, stand up. Alan, stand up. You want to tell me what jazz has to do with bocce ball?"
He comes down to the front of the band room, and he asks these 3 or 4 people. He's like, "Can you stand up? Can you stand up? Can you stand up?" And they get up, and they think they're ready to play Yardbird Suite or Scrap from the Apple, whatever we were doing. So they're all getting ready like this. And then your dad asks one of the most famous questions in my time there. He said, in his demeanor changes immediately. He said, "Fellas, what does bocce ball have to do with jazz?" He pounds his fist. He's like, "I asked you guys a question. What does bocce ball have to do with jazz? I want to know why at Pyatt Street last night, you guys weren't listening to music. You thought rolling these balls around the floor was more important than listening to what was going on the stage. Aren't you jazz musicians?" And he just goes off.
And just starts the whole class period just going off.
And honestly, he's making 20, 21-year-old boys just start crying. I mean, they're crying. He gets done. He goes, get out of here and compose yourself. And like the rest of us are sitting there. It's like, oh, please don't have us stand up and play now because I won't sound good, you know? But he made his points. He was all about active listening.
Hey, did you come here to listen to music or talk?
I'm playing bass trombone, and my nose starts to bleed. And your dad said something to the effect of, look, now that guy's trying.
I kept playing a B natural instead of a B flat. And he said, he stopped the band for like 3 times and looked at me and goes, did you mark it? And I went, yeah. But I didn't mark it. So I missed it a 3rd time. And he stopped the band. And he got kind of quiet. He said, he looked up from his glasses, pulled them down and said, did you mark it? I went, I'll mark it right now. So that means I lied the first 2 times. So before I could grab a pencil from Teddy DeSanti, he grabbed the pencil and flung it back there and went right past my head.
Oh.
And we stared at each other for a moment.
Oh.
And he was mad at me and I was mad at him. And picked up the pencil, marked it in, and I was just mad the whole rehearsal. And I played my ass off for the rest of the rehearsal.
You know, he'd ask me how many tempos I'm going to play.
He had this red sweater that he would wear a lot. And it seemed like we always knew when that red sweater was on. So something would happen in a committee meeting or something that would piss him off. And then he just, first of all, he'd be coming down to rehearsal right at 3 o'clock, all huffing and puffing. And it's like, oh, shit. And he's wearing a red sweater.
But the greatest thing ever, though, and the most uplifting stuff, though, was like if you were in a rehearsal and things weren't going well and he's just mad as a hornet and he's yelling and yelling and yelling, sometimes he'd get done and he'd be like, oh, yeah, you can't play time. You sound like you're building a house back there on the drums. And I'm embarrassed to be your bass teacher. And hey, nice solo.
Boy, Greg, man, you really sounded great tonight, you know.
And I came back the next day and I played this solo and he went, yeah, you know, and said a few choice words that were positive. That's the way you play that effing trumpet, you know. And I had chills going down my spine because I put a smile on Tony's face and he wanted to see you succeed. He wasn't just yelling at you to yell at you.
Give me that bass, you know, and then he would grab it from you and say, you're not getting it. Let me show you.
There's a candor to the guy that is so vivid, right? I mean, Tony Leonardi was bigger than life. We use that word too often, but Tony Leonardi was truly bigger than life.
Our eyes would get like this. Tony's here, you know.
He started calling me the Italian Stallion one day. And so I called him that too. So what's up? And it turned into kind of like shorthand where we passed each other in the hall. He's like, hey, Stallion, what's up? You know, and that was kind of our thing. You know, it was stupid, but it was really, you know, we were the Italian Stallions to each other.
Bob, the next time Paula calls the radio show and requests a jazz tune, he's like, tell her she needs to go to bed.
His teaching methods I just realized, well, to be truthful, any of us that are teaching in universities around the country will probably be fired if we taught the way Tony taught.
Are there any other Tony-isms that you remember? Things that he was known for saying?
Oh, that I can mention here?
Yeah.
But he really cared. I mean, to the point of like, what classes are you taking this quarter? You know, and he wanted to see, what are you taking? How many credit hours do you have now? You know, what's your plan? What are you going to do after this? Like, you know, what do you want to focus on?
What a legacy. I mean, this is not a joke when you say the Tony Leonardi legacy. It's a true legacy.
But yeah, without Tony, I never would have become a jazz musician. And I probably wouldn't be playing today.
But I went to Youngstown State because of Tony Leonardi and the jazz band. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I participated in everything, but it was your dad is the reason that I went.
And so from then on, I was like, okay, YSU is the bomb. I got to go to this place. So, and it was because of the jazz program. It was because of your dad that I wanted to go there.
he was and remains one of my primary mentors in my life and career. And Tony had a lot. If he hadn't been here, Paul, I would not have come here.
Your dad was the musical father to so many people.
He was like a second father, really just, just a larger than life figure for me.
If anyone were to say you're really good at jazz, that's from the 4.5 years I spent with that man.
He wanted the best for everybody. It was up to you to do it or not, to do what he told you to do. And if you didn't do what he told you to do, then he got a little upset. More than a little.
But this guy was from New York. And this dude said, trust me, everybody in New York knows about Youngstown State. And we thought, you mean up against Eastman and Manhattan School of Music and Peabody and all these schools? And he was like, he's looking at us going, trust me, we know what's going on at this institution with this guy at the helm, with Tony. And then I got to thinking about it. I'm looking around the room and I'm thinking about the people who had left just before I got there. And I could rattle off like 10 names right off the bat that are all either playing in a Mel Lewis band at the time or playing, next to Randy Brecker. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Half of this band is playing in the main venues in New York.
Just how passionate he was about making this music good.
I think, passion comes to mind. He was a very passionate person about a lot of things, definitely jazz, definitely teaching. And I think that he was pretty intense too. He could be intense in rehearsal and, he's very demanding. He expected 100% effort from you, and if he noticed you weren't given that, he was pretty much all over you. You were in the hot seat in any chair in that group, but especially as a drummer or a bass player. He held you accountable and let you know when you weren't doing it for him.
These are just regular people that were attracted to the school primarily because of Tony Leonardi. And once you got there, you either had to put up or shut up, and there wasn't, you weren't allowed to just get by.
The way he drives the band is like, he goes, there should be a study in Tony Leonardi bass lines. So that's what, the legacy that he's left.
His passion for what he did, his extraordinary talent. I mean, that sometimes I think that gets sidetracked by the fireball that your father was, and also his passion for his students and his love for music, his love for YSU. It was genuine.
He was authentic. He was honest all the time, and so you really had to rise to the occasion. You couldn't come in there and just slouch. You had to be prepared to play. And you had to be passionate about what you're doing. And I think that you will find that from many of the members that you will talk to from that ensemble, they come away with that idea of being dedicated to what you're doing. And that was every day. The intensity that he would bring, and it was meaningful, and it was laser focused. So you had to rise to that, and if you didn't, you would get burned.
The man had a way of if you had it in you, he had a way of bringing the best out of you.
Youngstown and Tony Leonardi were inexplicably connected. People talked about Tony Leonardi and the YSU Jazz Ensemble in their profession, and they should have, and they still do. Tony was the best big band director in America, I'll tell you that. There's no doubt about it. And I worked with Rayburn Wright at Eastman. I mean, I spent some time with people, and nobody could do with kids what Tony could do with them. Selling, marketing the school, because your dad understood all. They brought those amazing artists here. Oh my gosh, the best, finest jazz musicians in the world came here and played. I wouldn't talk about that. I mean, it was world class, seemingly every semester, every quarter.
We have this one thread in common. We all studied with Tony in one way or another. We have that in common. We got educated by a great man, a great educator, great bass player. So we have that in common forever. It's very cool. It's so exciting. It's so beautiful. I mean, this is where it started. This is what we have in common with this man.
Me, Sean Jones, Tim Leahey, Palumbi, Ralph Lalama, the list goes on and on. We're the roots. We are the roots. And we're going to take those roots and give them to somebody else. So what Tony started, it'll never end. It'll never end. Guaranteed.
He set such a high bar. While there have been some accolades, I don't think there have been enough. There should be a Tony Leonardi wing in that building. That school was on his back for many, many years, and you know that. And that's what Tony did every day of his life. He made the world a lot better place.